Hello everybody. In previous or in subsequent videos you're going to learn this picture in the world. Pretty important picture. I'm going to put it up here for you. That is in fact the unit circle for values of 30 degrees, 45, and 60. And so we know if we put 30, 45, and 60, eventually you're going to know that the cosine and the sine, the cosine of 30 is the square root of 3 over 2, and the sine is 1/2. Cosine and sine is the square root of 2 over 2. And once again, if you think about this being eventually a flip, this is 1/2 for the cosine of 60 and the square root of 3 over 2 for the sine. And of course we really want to be interested in that 15 degrees, but we'll leave that to another day. And the reason why I give you that introduction, it starts to show you why in fact you do want to be able to figure out how you can learn, or at least respect, how to get the square root of 2, the square root of 3, and later you're going to see from the golden ratio the square root of 5. This is definitely something that was thrown by the wayside when calculators came along, and even before that with the whole guess and check. So I'm going to try this out without any pre-notions by trying to calculate this using the standard formal way of calculating a square root. And I'm going to do it without explanation, just by example here, because I really don't know the rules. I'm playing through it. One rule I know is that you're always going to add two numbers and then have either 1 or 2 in an odd format. So you're either going to have 3 or 4, and the odd one is going to be off by itself. What you then do is look for, in this case, something that multiplied by itself is not going to be more than this. So you're going to, 1 times 1 is 1, right? What you're going to do is going to bring down 1, 0, 0, and now you're going to double the 1 here and then go to blank and ask this next question. The next question is, and you're going to always bring down some more double zeros as you get more places. The next question is 2 blank times blank equals 100 or less. So 25 doesn't work, and so you go with 24. And so what you've got is now the 4 went here and the 4 went there. You now 4 times 24 is 96. You bring down and subtract out here. You have 4, again the double zeros. You now double the 14 to be 28, and you put a blank here. And you're back to that sense of, okay, what do you do here? What number 28 blank times blank is less than or equal to 400? Obviously 2 is too much, so you do 1 here, 1 there. 1 times 281 is 281. You subtract out now, you've got 10 minus 1 is 9, and 9 minus 8 is 1, and you get 119. Bring down another set of double zeros. You remember you take that 281, you take 141 and you double it and you get 282. That 141 doubled is 282. 282 times blank is it 5? 5's too much. 414, I think it's 4. You put a 4 here and you put a 4 there, and that's how you take a square root of 2. We will go through and do it in other videos. Square root of 2 you start to know is that, and I'm going to now punch it in my calculator just to double check. You do that by saying 2 to the power, which is the caret 0.5, and I get 1.414, which is exactly what I had here. You're going to see later on you learn that divided by 2 very quickly. So you know that divided by 2 is 0.707, and you know this divided by 2 is 0.866. And later on you know we learn 1 plus the square root of 5 over 2 is equal to 1.61, yada yada. So these numbers come up enough later that you do them by pure memorization or repetition. And they are probably as important or more important than knowing one of my big holes, which is, for instance, 8 times 7, it turns out is 56. So some of you who are struggling with multiplication tables and the like, you do eventually want to go back and get them. But perhaps it will help you in your discussions with adults if you learn how to do the square root by hand. So in this case, we did the square root of 2, which is really an important one, because very often when we look at an angle of 45 degrees, one of the most important angles, 45 degrees or pi over 4, you're going to learn that the sine and the cosine are both 0.707, which is the same as 1.414 divided by 2, which is the same as the square root of 2 divided by 2. So we'll go through formally after we do the square root of 3 and the square root of 5. We'll go through formally what the process here was, but that'll review it this way. One thing you're always doing is you're adding double zeros. If you had something like, 2000 would be one way to go about doing it, but in this case, if you've got 2.00, you're just adding double zeros going to the right. You start with what number multiplied by itself is going to be less than this. So this is 1 times 1 equals 1. You subtract off, and then you bring down double zeros. You take then and double the first number you had and place it here and put a blank. You say 2 blank times blank. What number that's 2 blank times blank is less than 100? That became 4. 4 times 24 is 96. So you subtract the 4. You bring down another set of double zeros. At the same time, you double. Now, instead of doubling the 1, you double the 14. You get 28. And you see 28 blank times blank equals 400. 28 times blank equals 400. That turns out it is 1. 1 times 281 is 281. You then double the 141. You get 282 blank times blank is less than the 11,900. And that's how you go about doing it. And very quickly you end up learning at least these numbers by somewhat rote. The square root of 2, the square root of 3, and then because of the artist and the math and us all, the gamer and non-gamer alike, you end up with knowing even the square root of 5. Thanks for listening.